You know, since I kind of started speaking out against some of the behaviors of the left or on the left, of course, that led to a lot of backlash from the left because you're not, you're only supposed to call out the other side. You should never, hold your own side accountable when they're engaging in intolerant behavior. But once I finally felt comfortable enough to raise concerns about how the left talks about crime, for instance, and things like that, they couldn't wait to like purge me. Like I really did notice that there was this effort to just do away with me. I'm not pure enough. I'm not good enough. Like you're not one of us. And I had already gotten to a point in my life where I was willing to accept that treatment as long as I was able to speak my mind. And it took me at least a year, if not more, to finally feel comfortable to come out and say, no, the way that we're handling homelessness is not the right way to handle it. No, it turns out that crime is real and there are some people in society who are a danger and a threat to the public and they should be in prison. And, I was saying this stuff in the left-wing era of abolish the police or abolish the
Yes.
prison, the prisons. And as they were trying to purge me, you have the right wing asking you to come join with open arms, right? And it's just so interesting to me. Look, I'm not a Republican, and I'm a little more socially conservative than I was when I was younger, but not on issues like gay marriage or whatever. It's more on, actually police are important and we need to reform policing, yes, but the idea that we need to, shut down prisons, which we have in California. We've shut down 4 of them. Now there's no room for inmates and they're just releasing people as early as possible with this BS like good behavior credits when they're behind bars. No transparency on that. We don't know like what they did to deserve to get like 20 years shaved off their sentence. But okay. So like this stuff is all going on. And I have a few views that have changed and evolved, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in line with the Republican Party.
Right.
But they don't care. They don't care that I have some differences with them. What they care about is, honestly, on one hand, if I'm being cynical, power. They understand that in order to be a powerful party, you need to be more welcoming and you need to have broader coalitions of people. I think there's a side of the Republican Party that understands that. But there's also this faction in the Republican voting base that consists of disaffected Democrats. And I don't know if they've fully bought into what Republicans are selling, but they don't feel welcome on the left. So they've been absorbed onto the right.
Yes.
And I'm seeing the right wing change.
Yes.
They went from the neocon pro-war party to now all of a sudden, what are we doing in like the Middle East right now? What are we doing in Ukraine? Like, why are we doing this? We have our problems here. Can we please handle our problems here? And I now see that Dick Cheney is endorsing Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is going around town talking about how honored she is. And I'm like, you're honored to be endorsed by a war criminal? I mean, if I were in her shoes, I would like pull Dick Cheney aside and be like, listen, thank you for your support, but can we just keep this on the DL?
Totally.
But she's like
Yes.
proud of it. She's flaunting it. And that's not the party that represents me or represents my best interests.
And they've spun the narrative, though. They're
Mhm.
like, look, even people are so worried about Trump that people like Dick Cheney have joined our side.
Yes,
And I'm like,
yes.
no. That implies that you will do his bidding. And it's playing out in real time. We're in numerous wars. I
Yes.
don't understand anything about geopolitics, but all I know is it's gotten way worse.
It has, definitely.
Like, I'm watching people die all over the world, and everyone tells me Trump is Hitler, and I'm like, well, we didn't really, it didn't sound like it got worse over there, and now we're in a war in the Middle East, with these proxy wars.
We're in
Forgive my
proxy
ignorance.
wars.
Like,
No,
I don't
you're
fully
right.
understand it.
They are essentially proxy wars. Yeah, and I mean, the whole reason, I don't think the US government really gives a damn about Ukraine. I think the US government gives a damn about weakening Russia's military capabilities.
Right, okay.
But the way the Biden administration has handled this war in Ukraine, by essentially discouraging them to engage in a peace negotiation, that was early on in the war. Now I think it's too late.
That was
Remember-
2022, right?
Yes.
Kennedy talks about that.
Because early on in the war, I mean, Putin was deluded enough to think that it was going to be easy, but it wasn't easy. And so when he goes in and it's a challenge and some of their soldiers are dying and they're having difficulty, taking territory, there was a moment where the two sides could sit down and actually engage in a peace negotiation that Putin was willing to engage in.
Right.
Now, he's not willing to engage in a peace negotiation because he's winning. He's winning that war.
Right.
And we keep giving Ukraine more and more weapons. They're now doing, airstrikes and bombings in Russia, which I don't think is going to make the situation any better. And Russia has gotten closer with some of our other adversaries, including China, including Iran. So
North Korea.
yeah, exactly. I mean, this was, in my view, this was all predictable. But the whole idea was we need to weaken Russia's military capability while simultaneously continuing to make our own weapons manufacturers and defense contractors real rich.
Got it.
So it's a form of redistribution of wealth from ordinary, hardworking Americans to a small group of executives behind these defense contractors. And so I have a huge problem with that. My views on that never changed.
Me either.
So it's weird to have the Democratic Party perpetuate what's happening, around the world with these wars. And the Republican Party, on the other hand, at least the voters, I want to be clear, the voters are saying, no, we're not okay with this. Okay. We don't want this. We want to get out of these wars. We want to take care of our own. And that's what I want. I want to take care of our own. So there are areas where I definitely agree with Republican voters more than Democratic voters. And that's the thing that's really throwing me for a loop because these are the views that I've always had.